Hello, I'm Dr. Gareth Moore, and in this video I'll be looking at and hopefully solving day 8 of this, the Exit the Game Advent Calendar, the Missing Hollywood Star. So let's have a good look at the calendar first. We start with the storybook, which tells us what's going on today, and just a quick mention of my book that's out this Christmas, the Christmas Puzzle Book, and it's pretty much what it says. Christmas-themed puzzles of different types, a few different standard types and a couple of other interesting ones, but something to keep you going throughout the holiday period perhaps. But let's have a look at the story. Here we go. Right, so today is the 8th of December. There we go. You enter the next door into a dark tunnel, at the end of which a whole new world opens up. Gigantic, colourful, shimmering mushrooms and other plants. A white rabbit hurries past the back set wall, and from somewhere you hear the monotonous ticking of a pocket watch. You rub your eyes in surprise. What kind of mad journey is this? Suddenly a gigantic holographic face of a ghostly grinning cat appears in front of you and speaks with a mysterious voice. Whoever ventures too far into Wonderland can easily get lost. You quickly duck behind a huge mushroom as you do and continue to listen from there. If you want to find your way out of here, just counting numbers won't help you. That's in bold. You should perhaps look at these beautifully shaped signs. Oh, what they show you, of course, does not immediately give you answers. First, you will have to learn to read them. But how? You'll have to find that part out for yourself. Look closely and look around, and you will find your way. Hee 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 ha 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 ha. Lovely. With an eerie laugh, and that definitely was eerie, the cat becomes more and more transparent until it is completely gone. You rub your eyes again. Curiouser and curiouser. So, where to start? You can already see the signs that the cat spoke of. They look strangely familiar to you, as if you have seen them somewhere before. Turn the page, open door 8, and you will find a riddle card. Just one, G1. And what's on the back of the page for today? We've got right, betwixt, behind, forwards. I'm not quite clear what's going on here. That's pretty menacing. Betwixt, behind, forwards, right. Okay, perhaps we're going to be selecting letters from these. I don't know why we would be doing that. To spell out numbers, because every day we're looking for a 3-digit number to put in our code strip to work out what our next otherwise unlabelled door in the Advent calendar is. But talking of the Advent calendar, let's have a look at that and see if the looking inside the door helps us make sense of what's going on today. So right, yesterday we discovered that we were, actually where were we? Up the top here I think, yes, number 8. So let's have a closer look at that. Door 8, let's open it. Aha, one riddle card like we expected and an Alice in Wonderland type scene. Okay, looks like we're doing 3 things to get our 3 numbers is my guess here. 1, something to do with the smile and the teeth. Hope we're not counting teeth, but we can't because, well, not that many, because the numbers are going in a range 0 to 9. Something to do with a hat and something to do with a stopwatch. Well, the teeth don't immediately look like they have a number on. Perhaps they do. And there's no hat on here at all. And as for the stopwatch, that's not on here either. Now, I did say about seeing things before, so perhaps we're looking around the calendar for things. But before we go any further, let's have a closer look in this room with my close-up camera. Right, well, that's the back of the room. I can't say that immediately helps. That's the right-hand side of the room. There's a cat there with a red string in its mouth. We've seen a lot of cats on this calendar. On the left, now this looks like it's going to be relevant, there is a club, as in the symbol of a deck of cards, a hat, a club, a clock, a club, the smile and the hat again. I'm not sure what the clubs are doing. I mean, we could be counting hats. There's 2 hats, 1 smile and 1 clock. I mean, as vis-a-vis this card, clearly the symbols match. But otherwise, I don't know what down the bottom. I don't think there's anything down the bottom other than decoration. In fact, I don't think there's anything of importance in that room. Could be wrong. Other than this sign. So I feel that this hasn't particularly enlightened me so far, and we better have a look around the calendar to see if we can see any of these symbols. So, the bit I'm referring to on the story is this bit here, where it says, you can already see the signs the cat spoke of. They look strangely familiar to you as if you've seen them somewhere before. So, there is a sign inside the room, as we've just seen, but are there signs anywhere else? What about the front of the calendar? Let's have a look here. Yes, look, on here. On the pen, we actually commented on this on the previous day. On the pen, there were 2 hats and a clock. So I am thinking that we are simply counting how many smiles we can see, how many hats we can see, and how many clocks we can see, and then adding them up. Right, so if I keep track of, let's do it in the order on here. Smiles, hats, clocks. So in the room, we saw 2 hats and one of the other things. One each of the other things. I'm ignoring clubs for now, assuming we don't need those. Let's put that here. And on the calendar down the bottom, we have another 2 hats and a clock. So I think we're going around the calendar counting these, but as I say, I could be wrong. So there's one here. There's a set of them here. Do they appear anywhere else on this door? On this calendar? I'm assuming we haven't seen them. I don't remember seeing them inside a previous door, which would be pretty sneaky. Let's ignore the size of the calendar. Let's look at the flap now on top. Right, are there any pictures of Alice or of Alice-related material on here? Not that I can see. In fact, I recognise this from one of the days. This was the Love Actually door. So perhaps these are all... This may be in the Star Wars door. Perhaps these are scenes from days we've seen. I don't think anything on there is relevant. Let's look at the back of the box. Oh, there's definitely stuff on the back of the box. I can see it straight away. Right, on the back of the box we've got one more hat. It's 5. 2 more smiles there and there. And 1 more clock. So far we have 3 smiles, 5 hats, and 3 clocks. So it nicely hinted about looking elsewhere. The question is, are there any more of these on the back of the box here? I don't think so. Are there any sneakily hidden on the edges? They wouldn't be unheard of. Let's check the size of the box. There, 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 and then with the flap lifted, because we were both folded out here, and then with the flap lifted, there, 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 and there. I don't think they're on the side of the box. So I think we've got those numbers. And there's an easy way of finding out if we're right, assuming this is what we're doing, which is to put them into the coda strip. Let's just get this out of the way and see if they will take us to where we should be going, which will be a door with a combination that matches. So let's have a look. Right, so what do we have? Let's put them into the coda. Right, so hang on, I'll put these in the correct order because I twice got the order wrong after having already said what it should be and not put it incorrectly in previous days. 5 hats was 353, right? If I have found them all and I've understood what I'm doing correctly. So we are on door 8 here, and we will move as it tells us here. Right, 1 left, 1 down left to here. Oh, and then 1 down left again. That's not right, because that takes us off the calendar, you see, and we can't do that. The instructions are very clear. If you go off the calendar, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. If you go off the calendar, finish off the calendar, that's wrong. The instructions also say you can't move off the calendar and come back on during the solve. So I would suggest that I've probably missed some Cheshire Cat, some Alice in Wonderland related activities somewhere on the calendar. They could be hidden, of course, in sneaky places. How about on the instruction books? No, not in there. Okay. What about, they're not on the back of the decoder strip or something sneaky like that, are they? No. So where else would I look for them? Unless I can't count the ones here. That would be cheating. What about on the day itself? Did I forget there was some on here? Just realised I have completely forgotten to use this picture. Okay. I thought it was straightforward. Perhaps I have found them all, but what I haven't understood is how to use them here. Oh, I understand, I think. Is this telling me where to look for them? I think this picture is telling me where to look for the hidden... Well, they're not hidden. Look for the cat. Well, maybe they are hidden. To look for these. So I found 3 places. I found inside the door, which might be betwixt or right. Let's leave that a moment. I found on top of the calendar here. So that surely is forwards if the one on the back of the calendar is behind. So I think I found those 2, and I found one of those. Let's assume I haven't found right on the basis that I looked inside the room here, and it was clearly on the left of the room. And I assume that's betwixt. It's between the front and back. That makes sense, right? The front of the calendar, the back of the calendar, betwixt. So right, I'm looking for something on the right hand side of the calendar. I must have missed it when I turned it all around. Let's have a look again. Well, I've had a good look, and all I can say is if it's hidden on the right of the calendar, I can't find it. I even tried opening the flap, and it's not there. Okay, so I've come to the conclusion there is nothing else hidden, but now I'm thinking, I've just noticed, and perhaps I should have seen this before, that the signs actually do correspond with what we have seen. Because if I look here, that actually matches exactly the sign. Am I subtracting? Is this behind, this forwards? And why am I ignoring the clubs? Okay, I really haven't thought this through. So first of all, I ignored the signs completely. And then obviously I'm meant to be connecting the signs with the clubs. That is not one club, there's a whole bunch of clubs. They must have some meaning. I mean, must is a strong word, but they're very, very likely, as good as must, to have some meaning. And what is that meaning? I don't know. Okay, so I have a couple of ideas about what these clubs may mean. The first is that they're placeholders, and we are counting out, for example, from the centre. So it might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Another is that they somehow attach to a symbol. So, for example, this one might be equate to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This might equate to 1. But what breaks that is they don't all read the same way. But perhaps if they read towards the centre, for example, then we'd have 2 for this, but then this would go the other way, unless it was 0. But then what are these clubs? So the idea that they attach to a symbol, to its left or its right, doesn't seem likely, which makes me think that they're given positions. I think this is a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is an 8. And I think that means I move forwards 2 and 8. And this means I move backwards 3 and 4. Am I keeping a total? But then when it says right, what does that mean? But also I have to be careful not to overcomplicate this. If it hasn't told me to do something complex, then I shouldn't be doing something complex. Let's look at this. Do you want to find your way? I've ignored the story, I realised as well. I haven't paid any attention to this. If you want to find your way out of it, let's just have a look at the story again. If you want to find your way out of it, counting numbers won't help you. You should look at the beautifully shaped signs. Oh, what they show you, of course, does not immediately give you answers. First, you'll have to learn to read them. But how? You'll have to find that part out for yourself. Look closely and look around and you will find your way. Okay, so I was counting numbers to start with, having ignored the fact that the text told me not to. On the other hand, I feel that it's a reasonable thing to try first. Anyway, so counting numbers won't help, well, we've proved that. You should look at the beautifully shaped signs. Let's assume they give us directions. What they show you is up to you to work out. You have to learn to read them. But how? So this one is the behind and forward sign. Okay, I've made a note of this in a cryptic way. It's not that cryptic. I've used letters for each symbol. And then this one here is clearly the right one. And it has a direction. And then inside the room it goes both directions, which rather messes with my thoughts that I might be counting out from the centre, the position numbers or something. Alright, I'm already finding this the most complex room I've done so far. Probably because I haven't approached it very logically. I haven't tried to synthesise all the information at once. So now what? And I have this clear, and I have signs behind and forwards. I thought it was telling me where to look on the calendar. It wasn't. Although it did kind of work. Does the number of letters in here correspond with the number of dots? Oh, it does. It does. It does. It does. It does. So look, this sign here is right. I don't know what I'm doing with this. Apologies to the quality of my handwriting. But this one here is betwixt, and each symbol corresponds with a letter in the word. This one here is behind. And even though the H corresponds, that's just me arbitrarily writing an H for the hat. And forwards. I have to say, I was writing this post-it for my own reference with one hand while I was holding the other camera. And I wish I'd written it more neatly now it's on display. But what on earth am I doing here? And why am I finding this so hard? I can show the letters on here that match. So perhaps this is a good place to go next. So in behind, this is a hat. I'll use my letters. Can you even see that? Yes. Oh, you can see it. I can't see it on my desk. It's shining. There's a hat there and a smile here. A hat and a clock. So we've got IG. Oh, I've done this wrong. The clock is under there and there. Sorry, let's just scribble that out. So the selected letters, which have the symbols. What if I read the letters that are selected by certain symbols? So I read the hat, I've got H, E, T, I, and G. Ah, my golly. This has taken me long enough, hasn't it? That spells 8. I mean, in some order, it spells 8. Okay, this puzzle is nowhere near as hard as I made it, I think. So I'm lining up the symbols with the signs that they actually obviously match, selecting the letters that match those symbols, grouping them by the different designs, and then reading them, and then anagramming the letters. Okay. So hats, spell 8. Let's do the smile first. There's an I here, I, S, and X, which obviously the anagram is 6. So the smile is a 6. Golly, I made this hard. I honestly was thinking, do I need to take a hint on this? I'm so glad I didn't. I love that moment when you realise what's going on. Hat is, I've already said 8. So it's H-E-T-I and G. I-G-T-E-H. Anagram of 8. So the hat is 8. Okay. And then the clock is O-W-T, which is clearly an anagram of 2. Okay. Well, I took my time, but that's clearly correct. 682 is the answer. Let's get the calendar back. So I was here about 3 years ago when I tried a previous route from the door, but now I'm returning. You're several years older. See if I'm correct. Right, 8. Right. And right. And right. And we expect it to be. It is surely right. Hexagon, Y, circle. When you have that kind of solution, you know you're correct because there's just no possibility that's just arbitrary chance. 9. There we go. We've solved the puzzle for today. Well, I would be delighted to know if you had a go at that, how you got on. Did you find that as tough as I did, or was I just ridiculously slow? I think probably the puzzle is a little bit complicated, but also I was very slow because I'll tell you why. I didn't think about everything I had to start with. I broke my own cardinal rule, which is if there's some very specific pieces of information being given to you and you haven't used them at all, then you've almost certainly done something wrong. But there we go. That's the way the cookie crumbles, and I did get there in the end, which I feel is what matters. So I enjoyed today, and I hope you did too if you've tried it, and I hope you enjoyed the video if you've been watching along. If you did, please do subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber, and do please like the video, that actually really helps. And do please feel free to comment down below. I love reading what you have to say. But otherwise, until I see you in a future video, all that remains is to say take care and goodbye.